Hey BookTube, it's Peg from the History Shelf. I am back for part 2 of our Gratuitous book haul. Thanks for your patience. I feel like there was a full moon yesterday or last night when I made the video. I was a little off my game. Anyway, so we're going to pile into the rest of this box of books that I have, which I have yet to shelve somewhere. This is the other section of my study slash library slash den. As you can see, everything is pretty full up. You're getting some glimpses of my folios. These are just a fraction. I'm wanting to do a major reorganization of my library because when I go to do my bookshelf tour, my first one tomorrow downstairs, it's just not complete. I have Russian stuff up here. I've got, they're scattered everywhere, and I really just, I'm hoping to do a major reorganization, and I might wait until next year. We're looking at maybe buying a house with much, bigger space, and in that case I will do a proper library, and I probably will organize by subject. That's where I fall, because most of it's history. Anyway, having said that, let's get into the books. Okay, so ever since I reviewed The Borgias by Paul Strathern for Open Letters Review, I really got interested in Machiavelli. I was aware of him, obviously, just through reading in school, but I learned about Machiavelli and how he was associated or knew and wrote about Caesar Borgia, or Cesare Borgia. And so I saw this book by Be Like the Fox, Machiavelli in His World by Erica Benner. And I was like, you know what, I'd like to have a nice little biography on him, get some more background. Some say that Caesar Borgia was Machiavelli's inspiration for The Prince. And I thought this book would be a great complement to a beautiful edition. There's a mini book tour going on right here of The Prince that I got from Watkins Publishing. You can't see this. This looks blue to you guys, I assume. This is purple. And this, the cover is cloth. It's shiny cloth, like just something from like a royal, bedroom or something. It's very decadent, and obviously that goes with the topic here. This is the new illustrated edition. It is just gorgeous, if you can just look at that. It is highly illustrated throughout. Every page has, or every chapter has some artwork, or okay. So this is beautiful, and I would like to do a study of Machiavelli maybe next year. I just need to plan out my reading years. You know what? I'm going to ask you guys while you're here. How do you organize your reading for the year? Are you just kind of like fly by the seat of your pants? Do you make lists? Are you really careful about that? Are you very committed to the list? Do you try to learn something new every year, or a certain subject or two, and you just kind of go where the fancy takes you? I would like to know how you guys select what you read throughout the year, because I have so much, and there's things I'd like to reread and revisit, but I'm always I find like I just have this attention deficit disorder when it comes to what am I going to read next, what do I want to focus on, and then committing to it, because I'm constantly, oh, but I want to know, oh, I want to go over here, oh, and it's like that all the time. And maybe that's just common to being a person who loves learning and loves books and history and things like that. But if you have any suggestions, or tell me how you handle your reading for the year, I'd love to know it. So anyway, be like the fox. Well, or don't be like the fox, Anyway, okay, so biography time. So this was a little bit more expensive from the bargain book place. This was about $12, but this is brand new, and even used editions on Amazon were $15 or more. So I was like, you know what, it's just worth it because I'm interested in Russian history and I love biography. This is a very recent biography on Gorbachev, his life and times, by William Taubman, who also wrote a very large biography on Khrushchev, which I did have a used copy of it, but it was falling apart, so I still need to get a, sorry about the glare. It is a cold, snowy day here in, well, it's lightly snowing in Denver, but it's very bitterly cold. We're supposed to get a ton more snow tonight. That's what they say, but I doubt it. Anyway, so Gorbachev, his life and times. And that's exactly what it's about. I haven't read it yet, but I'm intrigued to know how he rose to his position, what he thought about communism, really, the fall of the Soviet Union, and yeah, I'm also curious to know. I want to have some more detail about his reactions to Chernobyl. One of my favorite books of the year so far was Midnight in Chernobyl. So when I do my yearly wrap up of, I'll probably do a favorite books video. Midnight in Chernobyl is one of them, and I'm sure a lot of you saw the HBO limited series Chernobyl. It was amazing. It was drawn a lot from that book, as well as Sergei Plokhy's book right before the Midnight in Chernobyl, Chernobyl: The Anatomy or the History of a Natural Disaster, History of a Catastrophe. One of those things. Here we go again. So anyway, I'd like to know more about how Gorbachev reacted more than they showed in the miniseries, and also just in Midnight in Chernobyl. So anyway, I'm really excited about this one. So these are all meaty books that are left. I think I showed you last night some books that were more on the skinny side. And you know what, I don't want to get off track, but I will show you the stack from my last video, part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, just go back and check it out. Painful as it is for me. Oh yes, so this one, I've always been intrigued by writers, and especially early 20th century writers, turn of the century, 20th century writers, and so this is Virginia Woolf, T.S. Eliot, D.H. Lawrence, E.M. Forster, and the Year That Changed Literature, The World Broke in Two by Bill Goldstein. So this is obviously about their reactions to 1922. Oh yes, okay. This is post World War I and how they were reacting to a world that was pretty much trying to put itself back together again. And how this was reflected in their work. And I know with Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway, which is my favorite Virginia Woolf novel, and Virginia Woolf is one of my favorite writers ever since I was a little girl. Mrs. Dalloway really looked at the effects of World War I on the, on the men who came back. I think her main character, one of her main characters outside of Mrs. Dalloway, was Septimus. I think it was Septimus Smith. And it's just heartbreaking. The man was just a wreck. He was shell-shocked and everything else, but I think their work will really reveal how that affected their generation. And to get to know these people more and what they lived through, you really do have to study their literature. And I've gotten away from reading literature just because I really turned towards history, especially for my degree. But I still love really great classic fiction and literature. So anyway, I was really excited to see this. So I got this one. Oh boy, back to Russian history for a second. As if I don't have enough books on the Russian Revolution, right? Right? You can never have enough, as far as I'm concerned. So this is one I want to add to my collection. The Empire Must Die, Russia's Revolutionary Collapse, 1900 to 1917. Mikhail Zygar, or Zygar is the author. This is a bit of a read. Not quite a chunker, but it's getting there. Anyway, this is just another, this is Public Affairs, put this book out. Just another take on the Russian Revolution. I've read several, everyone's got a slightly different take, But yeah, I'm looking forward to checking this one out to add to my collection. Okay, switching to Cold War. I started really getting into the Cold War in a class I took last year. Never really thought I would be into the Cold War. I thought it was just too modern. You know, I usually cut off around a certain point, normally after World War II. But I've really opened up to learning more about the 50s, the 60s, um, and the post-World War II world through that class. And this one is interesting in that it talks about the um, the events around the world during the so-called Long Peace, um, the Cold War's killing fields, rethinking the Long Peace by Paul Thomas Chamberlain. So this is quite a hefty book. It is not going to be a fun, happy read. So this book takes a look at a vital, comprehensive international military history of the Cold War, in which the author views the decades-long superpower struggle as one of the three great conflicts of the 20th century, alongside the two world wars, and reveals how bloody the Long Peace actually was. So I think this fills in a necessary gap in the history books, when people just kind of stop thinking about war after World War II. But there were little small conflicts going on all around the world, small, but if you were in them, they were, a nightmare. So I think this is an essential book for my library on just foreign affairs, U.S.-Soviet relations, all that good stuff. So another huge book to add to my shelves. Okay. Oh, and speaking of Serhii, or as I say Sergei, it's Serhii Plokhy. So I've been collecting his books. Obviously, I read Chernobyl. Actually, I listened to that one, an audiobook, but I want to read the book. There's something about reading a book, right, that is just, it's so different from audiobook, and I do want to get that one and give it a reread. But this one was available, Lost Kingdom, The Quest for Empire and the Making of the Russian Nation, from 1470 to the present. And again, I love Serhii Plokhy. He has just a wide range within the topic of Russian history and Ukrainian history. So I had to have this. This one is, try to see if I can give you a brief overview. All right. In 2014, Russia annexed the Crimea and launched hybrid warfare in eastern Ukraine. The conflict produced the worst crisis in East-West relations since the end of the Cold War and led to election meddling scandals in the United States and in France. The Western world was shocked and outraged, but these blatant violations of national sovereignty were only the latest iterations of a centuries-long effort to expand Russian boundaries, create a pan-Russian nation, and assert Russian power in Eastern Europe and beyond. So this is very timely, considering what we're dealing with right now. And, secretly, having studied Russia and the Soviet Union for probably close to 20 years now, I've thought all along that they really are the threat. When we had the reset moment with when Clinton was the Secretary of State, I just didn't believe it for a minute. And even with their so-called elections, you can see how it's becoming communism light, or at least dictatorship light over there, but maybe not so light anymore. But they've always been, and probably always will be, unfortunately, an adversary of the United States, and I've always felt for the Russian people. I think that's what keeps me reading about them and studying them, is that their history is so long and so tragic often, bloody, but they can yet turn out works of literature like Tolstoy and Dostoevsky that just illuminate the soul. And so it's this paradox. It's like this artwork comes from people that have just had a boot on their neck forever, almost, it seems. So it's just, I can't get enough. I am very fascinated by this paradox and wary of the people who are in power in that country. And I always will be, probably. Okay. Well, gosh, here we go. Here's another one. This one is, I don't have a lot to tell you on this yet. I will after I read it. But this seemed to offer a counter picture of Tocqueville and His America, A Darker Horizon by Arthur Kaladin. So, let me just read you this, because this could be some really intriguing stuff right here. Arthur Kaladin's groundbreaking, I don't know what it is. I cannot speak for the last 2 days. Arthur Kaladin's groundbreaking book on Alexis de Tocqueville offers an original combination of biography, character study, and wide-ranging analysis of Tocqueville's democracy in America, bringing new light to that classic work. The author examines the relationship between Tocqueville's complicated inner life and the meaning of his enduring writings, leading to a new understanding of Tocqueville's view of democratic culture and democratic politics, especially in their American incarnations. And it goes on further. I don't know if you want me to read all of this. Kind of looking at Tocqueville and his inner turmoil, his inner torment, searching for his place in a rapidly changing world, might have affected his take in his classic work, Tocqueville on democracy in America. So, it says here in the decades following his visit to America in 1831 and 32, Tocqueville took an increasingly critical view of democratic culture, fearing that certain tendencies of American culture would lead to social and political instability and a decline in the quality of political leadership. Well, hello! Well, I guess he was kind of right. Tocqueville's prescient anticipation of various threats to liberty, social unity, and truly democratic politics, and he underscores here the continuing pertinence of Tocqueville's thought in our own time. So this is going to be an intriguing read. Let me put this out. Yale. This is Yale University. Anyway, all right, so we're chugging along. This is a 17-minute video, and I still have, holy cow, I should have done more last night. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I've got 6 books left. All right, I'm going to try to go as fast as I can. Next book, Middle Eastern History, which I love as well, Lords of the Desert, The Battle Between the United States and Great Britain for Supremacy in the Modern Middle East by James Barr. This is put out by Basic Books. This came out a few years ago. Just talking about America and Great Britain's movements, machinations, and everything else in the Middle East for influence. This came out in 2018. So this looks great. If anyone has this book and has enjoyed it, let me know. I've got a stack growing over here. So we'll go back to Revolutionary America. I'm looking forward to this book. This is a nice, big, heavy book, heavy stock. The 3 Lives of James Madison by Noah Feldman. Subtitle is Genius, Partisan, and President. I know we've got quite a few biographies out of all the founding fathers, but I heard good things about this one. We've got John Meacham on the back, who has been blurbed, recommending this book. Also Annette Gordon-Reed, she's fabulous. She wrote The Hemingses of Monticello, An American Family. She's fabulous. And Walter Isaacson, who was a biographer of Steve Jobs and Da Vinci. Yes. There you go. So this is a nice big, these are sturdy. These are, oh my gosh. Oh, look at that. I love it. I just can't get enough history, you guys. I could just, this is about, it's 600 pages plus of reading. So anyway, I'll add this to my American, founding American Revolutionary collection of biographies. Okay, oh, along the same lines, all right, here's a thin volume I should be able to knock out pretty quickly. This came out a couple years ago, I think, or maybe last year. This is Jay Cost's The Price of Greatness, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and the Creation of American Oligarchy. And this is, I think, Basic Books. Yes, it is. I can usually tell those guys. Slim volume with notes. It's about, just comes under 200 pages. So this could be a really good to quick read about those two. And I waited for a long time for this book to become a bargain book. And I always check Hamilton book to see when new releases will eventually get marked down. Because I like new copies for the most part. I was really excited when this came out and I wanted to get it and I can't wait to read it. So, When Montezuma Met Cortes, The True Story of the Meeting That Changed History by Matthew Restall. And I've read another book of Matthew Restall and I believe it's more of a, I want to say crusade type of book. But yeah, he's a good author. And this kind of covers the first meeting of, obviously, Cortes and Montezuma, and it was just such a chaotic event. And it was painted as Montezuma just being so fey and kind of thinking that, you know, oh, this person's not going to hurt us. But yeah, I just don't think that's true, and I think that this is addressed here. And it says here, a dramatic rethinking of the encounter between Montezuma and Cortes that completely overturns what we know about the Spanish conquest of the Americas. And so how does it overturn what we know about it? Okay, here we go. So on November 8th, 1519, the Spanish conquistador Cortes first met Montezuma, the Aztec emperor, at the entrance to the capital city of Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan. I've got to work on my the Aztec names for things. This introduction, the prelude to the Spanish seizure of Mexico and to European colonization of the mainland of the Americas, has long been the symbol of Cortes's bold and brilliant military genius. Montezuma, on the other hand, is remembered as a coward who gave away a vast empire and touched off a wave of colonial invasions across the hemisphere. But is this what really happened? In a departure from the traditional tellings, Restall gives a comprehensive reevaluation of both these men and draws on rare primary resources, so we'll check the back and make sure that this is true. He looks at overlooked accounts, and I don't know, I guess it's just a basic overview. We'll see if anything in here does overturn the traditional telling. But anyway, I've always been fascinated about these two when they met. It was just a bloodbath at the time. As Cortes just came in, it's like, hey, what's up? And, you know, just here's my men hiding in the jungle behind me, and they just, you know, rushed them all. It was horrible. What are you gonna do? History. Okay, 2 books left. This one is very fascinating. It goes back to the writers of the early 20th century and their experiences. This is The Ambulance Drivers, Hemingway, Dos Passos, and a Friendship Made and Lost in War. In my Library of America series, which I have up at the very top of my bookshelf, I have the works of Dos Passos. I don't think they have Hemingway for Library of America. I don't think they have the copyright to that. So, but apparently these two were friends, and then something happened, and it turned into a big kerfluffle, and then their collaboration and friendship just basically devolved into over something. It was fueled by money, jealousy, and lust. They had a bitter public fight, and it also talks about their experiences in the Spanish Civil War. So ambulance drivers, you know, that's what they were doing. So anyway, this looks pretty fascinating. Final book. I'm very excited to have this because I have another one of her books, her most recent, but this is Lauren Johnson's, sorry for the glare, So Great a Prince, The Accession of Henry VIII, 1509. And this is put out, I think, Pegasus Books. Anyway, so yeah, a little history of Henry VIII as a young man when he first assumed power. And then I have another one of her books right over here, or I took it downstairs, The Shadow King. is her most recent release. Very big chunker of a book. So anyway, these are this is part 2 of the book haul, far longer than the first. So, wow, we went through 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We went through 13 books just now. And this was the stack from yesterday. If you're still around out there and you want to see. Yeah. So I did a much smaller stack last night. Whoa. Are these backwards? Yes. They're backwards, but that's okay. Woo! Well, some of them are upside down. It doesn't matter. These are the books I showed yesterday. So I've got a lot of books here. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up, guys. I'm gonna make probably maybe another video about what I'm reading on Sunday. Sunday reads. The bookshelf tour is coming. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow when I have some quiet time in the house. I'll be the only one here, and I can try to figure out how to film myself pulling books from the bookshelf, because I have not done that yet. Still a newbie. Anyway, thanks you guys for all the new subscribers and for watching. Please comment on any of these books, any thoughts you have. I love having dialogue with you guys, so I will talk to you soon, and be safe out there. Stay warm.